Obviously, if you've got your overlocker, you can just overlock the edge. Same seam allowance, trim a bit off with your cutter if you want to. Basically, we've now created a tube of fabric. So we're going to flip it, grab hold of the other end and just pull it through. Turn it inside out. And the pleating is one of the really faffy things when you're doing these individually. So actually, why not pleat the pleats for 5 masks all at once? Well, that is what we're going to do. So here we go. Seam. So get your steam iron going and just run it down the length. We're just going to press down the edge. We're looking at orders of like 200 and 300 of these for the care homes, so we need to be more efficient. And to be quite honest, when you do it like this, it's actually really satisfying, especially if you have done it the long way round. You will be really pleased at how much easier and quicker this is. Okay, so here's the quick pleating then. Fold it in half, line up your edges, and we're just going to press this edge, making sure that you've got a nice fold on the inside as well and that the flannel isn't caught on itself at all. Check it. You see there, I've got a bit of unevenness here, so we're going to even this edge up. And then just press it again. This is the edge. This is the edge you need to be worrying about. That's going to give us a crease for one of our pleats. And then we're going to open it out again. And then we're going to fold into the centre. If you ever made bias binding, it's the same sort of thing. We're just doing it on a bit of a chunkier scale here. That's going to give you the second fold of your pleat. Really make sure that your edge is lining up with the central fold. All the way down, and you guessed it, we're going to do the same on the inside edge as well. All the way down the length. And again, as I said, at the sewing machine, when you've laid them up, you want to go all your 3 at once. Bring it all over to the ironing board, press all your 3 strips at the same time. Okay, so now we can work out our pleats. So if you really want, you can grab yourself a sewing gauge and measure. I'm just going to sort of turn it over about 1 centimetre, so I'm going to push the gauge into the fold and make sure the pleat lines up with that edge. But to be quite honest, I'm not going to go to that effort. I am just going to do it by sight, and we're just going to do 1 pleat at a time, as long as it reasonably lines up. So we're going to do the second one, layer it on top, and then the third one, take that 3rd crease and layer it on top. And obviously you need to go all the way down. It takes about a minute. Give it a nice press once over all your layers. A good bit of steam. This is where you need your cereal packet, and we're just going to cut our template. So lining up with your ruler, if you've got a craft knife, slice through. I feel a little bit like strengthen now, because I'm going to ask you to put some sellotape on the short sides. Okay, so we've got 2 strengthened edges, and now we're going to make a mark on this top edge, and we need to make that mark really obvious, because this is going to help us mark up our fabric. So if you want to do it with a felt pen or something like that, something that really stands out. Now you need a pen that is going to be visible on your fabric. Using a pencil, and you really just want to make a mark all the way down the pleats that's visible. I'm going to use this for sewing. Pencil actually is shown up quite nicely on this blue fabric, so I'm going to stick with a pencil. It's going to be a cutting mark later on, so it really doesn't matter, and it's not going to be there as a visible line in the future. It's going to slip a little bit, just be careful. You do need these to be as accurate and as equal as possible. That's the whole point of trying to do it in a standardised fashion. And there we go, look at that 5th one on the end. And then we are just going to put a few pins in so that this all holds together while we're sewing it. We're going to sew these towards the fold of the pleat, not against them. Just makes it so much easier on the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are back at the machine now, and I'm just going to show you the last one. I've done the early ones, and I like to, as I'm going, roll this up to keep it out of the way, because I don't like to have lots of bulky fabric under this part of the machine. And what we're going to do here, this is the line here. I'll just mark it out so that you can see it with a gauge. So that's where the line is, okay. And what I'm going to do to sew the right hand side of the line is I'm going to line up with the left hand toe of my presser foot, and I'm going to keep that in line there as we sew down parallel. We're sewing towards the pleats, towards the folds, so it should all fall nicely down to the bottom. I'm doing this quite slowly so you can see I'm taking care, and then reverse, and that's one done. And then to sew the other side of the line, I'm just going to flip it over the other way, and I'm going to do exactly the same but on the other side of the presser foot. So this time we're going to line up the right hand toe here with the line that we've drawn on the fabric. That's not quite there, I'll just shimmy it over a little bit. There we go. Needle in, off we go, and sew down, keeping that toe, keeping your eye on the line. You're watching the line really to just make sure that your presser foot, the toe of your presser foot is right where it needs to be, and then back stitch it. I'm done. Okay, so there we go, and you can see really clearly, well I hope you can see really clearly, that we've got two lines of stitching either side of the grey pencil mark that I made before. Back to the cutting board, and now whether you're using a scissors or a rotary cutter and a ruler, it couldn't be easier, because the line that you're going to cut is a line that you drew with a pencil. So you want to go in between your two lines of stitching, taking care. And I'm going to do this one with the rotary cutter, and then we've got all our 5 mask panels now ready to go. So we've got 5 beautifully standardised face mask panels, 1, 2, 3, and the 2 end pieces, which have got this little flappy end because obviously we didn't stitch that down. If you wanted to, just to catch it in place for the bit that we're going to do next, then of course you can just sew down that line just as you've done with the others, and the same on the other end to just catch the pleats in so that they're going to hold in place. So now we are ready to over edge. So again, I've just lined the edge of my fabric up with the inside right hand toe of the presser foot, and I have set my machine to a wide zigzag, 5mm wide zigzag, and 1.5mm stitch length. Okay, over edge it, down, back stitch if you want. So we're just going to do the same on the other side. We're going to over edge it, but I have actually flipped my fabric round this time because I still want to run with my pleats. So I'm just going to fold over that edge because, again, as I said, I don't really like having lots of fabric under the machine arm. And this time we're going to match up the the left hand toe of the presser foot, drop it down onto your fabric, make sure you're right at the top, and just over edge all the way down. Now this is the unstitched edge, the 5th face mask as it were. So if you are getting a lot of movement, either go back and sew them all down, or just at very least to sort of pin it in place to reduce the amount of movement that you're getting. And now we need to neaten it up and just trim them all off. So I'm going to line it up, right hand toe of the presser foot and over edge. Bit of back stitching at the bottom, cut my threads, flip it to the other side, fold it over out of the way, line up with the left hand toe of the presser foot, drop down, and over edge. And back stitch when we get to the end. Done. Back stitch at the top as well. I'm not sure I did do that very well. You should back stitch at the top end and the bottom end. And just for the sheer fun of it, I am just going to do the other 3 just on the overlocker. so you can see how fast it is on there. So we are just going to chain it through, one bit of fabric running through into the next one, but I have just left a little bit of gap, as you can see, between the two layers of fabric, so that it makes it easy for knotting off threads and things like that. There you go. That's number 2. Grab number 3 and so you can imagine if you'd sewn the tube with the overlocker, then you've pressed all 3 in one go. Then you do have to stitch the tram lines. You do have to stitch the tram lines on the sewing machine. You cannot do all of this on the overlocker. Those of you so keen to get cracking and churn some of these out, you have to use your sewing machine as well, because you can't do the tram lines without. But then you can flip back to your overlocker to just chain these all together, cut in between, and basically you've got 5 masks done really, really quickly. Last little bit, again, back to the sewing machine. Alright, so I'm just going to show you how to finish off one now. So we've cut off all the straggly threads. You need to try and get this as neat as possibly can, because we are going to have an exposed raw edge, which is going to rest against whoever's the person who's wearing it, their cheek. Now you can pin these down if you want to. We're going to turn in about 1 centimetre at either side. A pin, one at the top, one at the bottom, and then just check again your allowance to make sure it really is only about 1 centimetre, because we don't want to make these too small. That could just be slightly adjusted. Repin. Oops. And then obviously same on the other side. And I'm just going to stitch down our pleats. I hope you can see. I know it's actually really quite tricky filming and sewing at the same time. Well, I know now. I didn't know that before. And there we go. Good bit of back stitching. Run off. And I'm just going to show you how to finish one of these now. I don't need to show you how to finish 5. Once you know how to do one, you know how to do all. And in fact, you hopefully will be doing 15 in one go, not just a single one like me here. I'll finish my other 4 later. Final thing to do is just to insert the elastic. Trim off loose threads and have a really good look and just snip off any little bits that you think might be a source of irritation. Like I said, I have been test driving one of these masks for the last couple of days, and I've not found it particularly irritating. But I guess if you've got sensitive skin, then you might find that that is an issue. Now when you pack, you'll get your long length of elastic. It takes a little bit more elastic for each of these masks, because instead of just stitching it in at the top and the bottom edges, obviously we've got a whole loop through. So it takes 50 centimetres per mask, 25 centimetres for either side. Using something like a yarn darner or a knitter's needle, something like that with a nice big eye. It's getting a bit frayy now, it might have thrown through, but it did. You can always just knot a little bit of it, not too tightly though, because we have cut this to the right length. You want to run your needle in line with the pleats, because you don't really want to be catching if you can avoid it. So you're going to take your needle and just feed it right the way through, and then we come out the other end, a little bit fiddly. And then you want to run right to the end of your elastic. Line up your elastic next to your ruler, and you really do only want to cut 25 centimetres, so we're doing this precisely. Okay, after trying to make these really, really quickly, the last little bits are quite precise. So we've got 25 centimetres there, so we're just going to snip it at 25 centimetres. Pull it nice and tight. We're just going to make a nice little knot at the end of the elastic, as close to the end, but as securely as you can. I can't seem to get it any better than that. That's as little elastic I can use in making a knot, which is obviously why these take a little bit more elastic, because as you're knotting it, you've got a bit of wastage as well, and you're looping it. Pull the knot in. Oh, got a straggly thread there. Back on the sewing machine and just sew a couple of stitches just over that casing there, so that it holds the elastic in place and inside that casing out of the way. Lightly, because we remember one of the advantages of these is that you can replace this elastic, so you don't want to stitch it in so it can never be removed. Okay, we just want it nicely out of the way, and there you have one finished 2-layer face mask. And if you crack on with the rest of them, you have your nice pile of 15. They will be done in no time.